Last year we called the Bitcoin sale before it happened using nothing but top-down analysis. Long-term bias always wins no matter what time frame you're trading. I'm going to show you exactly how on 3 live charts.
So what is top-down analysis? Top-down analysis is a mechanism in which traders start from higher time frames to smaller time frame. Now before we go further, you have to keep in mind that top-down analysis is very important in terms of trading. Most traders find themselves lost. Which time frames can I use for top-down analysis? What do I need to know about top-down analysis? Most people usually begin from 1 month, other traders begin from daily, other traders begin from 1 hour for some reason. But we are going to look at top-down analysis in a different way or in a different approach that may be yet heard of, that may help you in whatever concept you're doing. Now you have to remember that when it comes to top-down analysis, you can pick any time frame of your choice. So first of all, we would recommend for us to start from the 12 months. This one is provided by all platforms, whether it's MT5 for the laptop, not for the phone, or on TradingView. So you can go from 12 months, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month. But the reason why we check the 12 months to 1 month is just look at the long-term direction. But remember, as traders, from 12 months to 1 month, we don't execute using those time frames. So we just check for the sake of checking, because even the institutions or the so-called market makers, they also use it for long-term, or the smart money traders also use it for long-term, but they don't also use it for execution. So before we go further, make sure you watch the previous video about how market makers exist or what they do or who are they before we go further more. So when it comes to top-down analysis, we have these time frames in mind. We start from 12 months up to 1 minute. But before we go further, you have to start from 12 months, go to 6 months, 3 months, 1 month altogether. So when you check there, just understand the long-term bias, which is mainly the long-term direction. Then focus on the most important time frame, which is weekly. And when it comes to weekly time frame, make sure you look at the current weekly breakout structure. As you can see, either is it bullish or is it bearish. Always look at the current weekly breakout structure. After marking the current weekly breakout structure, that's when it's easy for you to play with what we call the middle time frames, which is the H4, daily, and H1. And you have to always remember the current weekly breakout structure controls the direction of daily, H4, and H1 altogether, which you will use for understanding the direction. But for weekly, you use it for long-term direction or to understand what weekly is likely to do in that week. For example, you may look at GBP having a bullish breakout structure. And you have to remember that when it comes to the weekly structure, or 3 points of interest that the weekly always creates. So let's dive into the chart examples to see how we can do top-down analysis and break down everything. So we can start always from the 12 months, as I've told you from the start. So notice that the 12 months time frame, price is very bearish in GBP New Zealand. See, price created a lower low, lower high, lower low. So price last broke structure here. So if you don't know how to mark highs and lows, make sure you watch our YouTube video on XAUUSD page. The first video that we uploaded, you'll notice it's there, how to mark highs and lows perfectly. So we notice that the 12 months price broke the structure to the downside. I know that price is retracing back to this high. So we know for the meantime, you're targeting this lower high. So for the meantime, we know that price is very bullish to the upside in the 12 months. It was even do see an internal breakout structure here. So us checking the higher time frames, we need to know what we call the long-term bias, because long-term bias will always win no matter what. Even though time frames sell in the daily, in the weekly so strongly, always the levels that have been in a short-term trend, or what we call the pullbacks, will always be violated. So we check this higher time frames to understand the long-term direction. Now we know that 12 months in the long-term phase, it is still buying back to this high. So we go to the 6 months time frame. Notice that total time frame, the 6 months price kept on breaking the structure to the upside. Are you seeing that? So keep in mind the smaller the time frame we shall go to, or the lower the time frame we shall go to, you'll see more key levels. So go to the 3 months time frame. 3 months time frame, notice we kept on seeing more breakout structures to the upside. Are you seeing that in the 3 months? So we can go up to the 1 month, the same thing. Keep in mind the lower the time frame you go to, you start seeing so many high highs and high lows, or you start seeing so many levels, or you start seeing so many breakout structures. So notice that also the 1 month is following the same direction. But I told you weekly time frame is the most important time frame of all assets. So we notice that here 1 month last broke structure from here to the upside, and this is the low. And notice that it broke your structure with a week to body break, and notice that here price had its higher high not yet taken out, and you see it's like in a range. And we have also another internal breakout structure in the 1 month. So without getting confusion, we just drop down to the weekly, and we say that we should always pick the current weekly to anticipate our direction to the next level. We are anticipating that. So notice that in the weekly time frame, we see more breakout structures, This is the higher low. Price broke here with an inch. This is a body closing above this week. Then notice that price came back to the low, to the supportive levels here, and weekly is currently here.
because weekly was able to test this level and it went up to break structure here. So what's the current direction for weekly? It is bullish. So we know that this is the current weekly breakout structure. This one, this is the low. Are you together? So we notice that weekly time frame, as I told you, after understanding the long-term direction that we are still very bullish, so we need to look for levels that can support our bullishness. So for example, this is the weekly time frame, so we pick the current one that we can take advantage on. So we need to know what is the cycle or what is the nature of the weekly time frame. What state is it formed? And we have 3 states that are formed by the weekly time frame. The first one is what we call the breakout phase, whereby the weekly time frame will come and we notice this type of a scenario: weekly higher high, higher low, higher high. So when weekly time frame breaks the structure to the upside, this is what we call the breakout phase. There's nothing like a retracement. We notice that price kept on breaking to the upside. You see, we call this one the breakout phase, or sometimes we call it the markup phase, because price keeps on marking new price levels to the upside. So we have the second one called the pullback phase. The pullback phase, whereby weekly time frame will be doing a pullback. So if week is in a pullback phase, keep in mind that the daily time frame will be in a pullback, H4 will be in a pullback, but it's not always true. Sometimes you may not find daily in a pullback, but you find that H4 is done in a pullback. Are you together? So you have to understand about pullbacks. I'll make a video about it in the near future. So this is the weekly. Now, what do you notice in this weekly time frame? This weekly time frame is in a pullback phase. And once we go to the daily time frame, we can know that in the daily time frame, price now is in a pullback phase, which means we are selling. And you notice here in the daily time frame, price is in a selling mode. Because keep in mind, the smaller the time frame you go to, you start seeing more key levels. So you notice that inside this weekly, we have daily lower lows, lower highs, as so many of them as you see. Then price went here bullish, went to the low, then again went to the upside, went to the upside. Then now we see daily is in a bearish. So since daily is in a bearish, that means we can sell in H4, H1, regardless of the key levels that are basically in control. So we know that now we can be selling as we're heading back down to the weekly support level. Again, we can look for confirmations on how to deal with intraday. So you understanding where weekly is going to, you can be able to capitalize on the weekly continuations to support that side that you're now in a pullback phase. And we shall also know how to do that weekly is done in the pullback phase. That will be for some other coming session. So this is one of the good examples that weekly is in a pullback phase, and we see that daily is supporting the direction. Of course, even another time frame will support H4, H1. So if you go to the H4 time frame, you'll notice that you had so many opportunities here in the H4. We had yes daily breaking, but there are these H4s appearing here. These H4s that you could take advantage of, lower lows or highs. We see that you understanding the long-term direction, it's easy for you to get intraday setups or even to do swing trading. Swing trading and intraday becomes very hard if you don't understand top-down analysis. Once you understand the direction, it's easy for you to anticipate the new movement, the new opening up from 1 month, or for you just opening up in weekly. Because imagine opening up from 1 month to a 3-month support. For example, let me give you an example of USD as a second example. So let me give a very good example. So if you go to the 12 months, last time we predicted for you the sales on Bitcoin all along from last year, for those who have been following us on our Telegram channel. So notice that in the 12 months, price is very bullish. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So know that price in the long run to later visit 300,000 price level in the long run. But if you don't see higher, if you don't already see higher time frame direction, you'll start buying with no reason. Most traders have been buying Bitcoin for no reason. Price kept on dipping to the low, because they are forgetting high time frames have changed direction. Notice that the last broke structure here to the upside. So seeing a 12 months candle like 2 of them, 2 years down the road we are selling, it's a sign that small time frames are also selling for quite a long time. So if you go to 6 months, you'll notice that even the 6-month candles are dropping. So why would you be buying? Instead, you have to look for shorts. So this is the long-term bullishness of Bitcoin is bulls. The short-term bias is the sellers. This is the short-term bias that is happening, which we call counter trends. So we know that higher time frames are in a counter trend. Later we can go bullish. So you go to the 3 months, we see the same. 3 months is also bearish. How? Because you notice that 3 months last broke structure from here. As I told you, the higher the time frame, the fewer the levels, and the lower the time frame you go to, the more levels you start to see. So it's not 3 months last broke structure here into the sales. So 3 months being in sales. So last time we predicted this sell, for those who are in the free Telegram group, even before this price breaking, we told you that price will break this level because higher time frames have already changed. Which time frame? Weekly had already changed. So notice that the 3 months price last broke here into sales. We know that we are so bearish So go to the 1 month, the most important time frame. Now, not even the 1 month, price broke structure in the 3 months. The same time with 1 month, also 1 month broke structure here into sales. You see that? So you understanding the higher time frame direction, it's easy for you to know, okay, now we're in a sale. So last time we took a sale here. The reason why we took a sale, this was a 3 months resistance. So that's why you saw price dropping so much in Bitcoin. Now currently we have now a 1 month breaking structure to the downside here. And we said sometimes 1 month and weekly, they can correlate in size and in shape. So we know that it is 1 month dropping, and also notice that weekly is also supporting the ideology, because weekly time frame broke structure from inside here, because we have this weekly higher low, higher, lower low. So this weekly will be invalidated, or it will be taken out, because we are on a 3 months resistance, because the higher the time frame, the stronger the level. Now if you don't already see this in higher time frame, you continue buying in a wrong way, then they take you against you. You see how it's very important to see higher time frames. Then notice that again, weekly time frame was able to break in, but we know it's now 1 month supported with weekly. So if we go back a little bit to 1 month, just to show you how powerful top-down analysis is, we see this is the breakout level, and I told you about last time breakouts and how to trade breakouts. So if I step back this breakout level, we notice that even weekly time frame is supporting with 1 month, they are aligning. So notice that when you see this rejection, so that means if you go to the daily time frame, now you can know that we are selling on the 1 month. Together. That's why I'm saying now sellers. So at first we had these bars in the daily, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. These were pullback buys. We had this break. So price is now selling, and we are likely to see this level break, and we continue to the low just to take out this level, or to come back to this level to see whether this level can start to give us confirmations again to enter inside. Because now this is the next level we have to target at for buys, or if there's no confirmation for buys, we shall take low. So we have to keep on trading price. So we notice that day the last broke structure to the buys here. You see how top-down analysis can save you a lot of hassle and bustle. This is the daily higher high to higher high. So notice that in the H4, now you can understand why this pullback is happening. Because once you mark higher time frames, it's easy for you to know how these pullbacks are coming into existence. And you know that this 1 month resistance, it is stronger than the daily support. So definitely this data support will be taken out. So notice that the 4-hour price started supporting the sellers here. 4-hour broke the structure at the downside. 4-hour lower low, lower high price came back to the 4-hour break and retest level. Again, 4-hour came back to this level to sell, because 4-hour was the one dominating to the downside. Then again, we had another 4-hour. You see, it becomes very easy for you to do intraday. Price comes down, retraces back this H4, it sells, confirmation sold. Now you have here a new break here, which was another 4-hour, which is very big. But before you take on this 4-hour, you first check daily. So this is that in the day time frame, we don't have any break of structure. We just see a week to week. So that means 4 is still dominating to come back down. Now these buys that you're seeing are coming back from this daily support. And my anticipation is to see that price is going to later come back to this level and we break this level. Why? Because I'm leaving a 1 month resistance that is very strong and is aligning with weekly. So you understanding such a flow, you missing to do this type of top-down analysis, it's very hard for you to take a trade as a trader. Are you together? So let me take you to one more last example, for example, like GBPUSD. So if we start from the 12 months, any asset you want, always begin from higher time frames to have a clear conclusion on how you can trade. So this is that in the 12 months, price is very, very bearish. I know that long term, we are still very bearish, but this will take centuries, sometimes decades to continue to this side. But we know that we first target this high to this low, because now the current one is the short-term bars, which is so bullish that is going to this side. So we got the 6 months. So I'm just picking a new range in between. So notice that price has been buying throughout just to come back here. So we go to the 3 months. Notice that 3 months price kept on breaking structure to the upside. Then we go to the 1 month. We notice that 1 month also price kept on breaking the structure to the upside. And you see that 1 month is ranging. As you can notice, 1 month is ranging. But the most important one is weekly. So we know that we should get back here, but for the meantime, we need to go and see what is weekly communicating for you to get a trade between this range and this range. But we know that price is ranging. It can either decide to break above or to below. So we can go to the weekly time frame. And we go to the weekly time frame, we notice that weekly time frame is bearish. We notice that weekly inside this day, this 1 month level, these are weekly higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Then weekly the first aggressive sellers, as I told you last time. Then price broke here to the downside, indicating this level would hold, because we have here the first sellers, the defensive, what you call the aggressive sellers, were able to take out this low. Then again, weekly went into bulls. So would easily support our bearsness with the bulls with the day H for each one to go bullish to target this high. Then again, we see that weekly time frame is bearish. And notice that price came back to this weekly resistance or lower high. Now it is selling. So this is what we call a continuation phase, which I forgot to tell you. We have 3 phases. The first one was the breakout phase for the weekly. We have the second one, which is the retracement phase or a pullback phase formed by weekly. The last one is the continuation phase, when price leaves the weekly level and price is heading back up. Let's assume it's leaving the weekly point of interest. Now for this one, of course, this is a little bit complex. It went a little bit above. I can't explain some things because some things are so premium, but at least you can pick a leaf. We notice that price failed to close above this weekly high. It's a week to week, indicating price failed to close above this weekly high. So these levels don't take direct entry or is confirmed. So notice that weekly time frame, the current weekly direction is bearish for the meantime. So we are selling just to come back here. And of course, when you go to the daily time frame, I don't know if you see this bearishness here. Lower low, lower high. So price came back here. But if you're so advanced, we can explain next time why it is stopping here. There's some things I can't disclose, but maybe for those who come for the classes. So we come back here to the daily time frame. The daily time frame is that daily time frame is supporting bearishness to the downside. You see that? This one maybe you would have missed. Maybe now we have here a new setup. This one. This is a new setup. So you can sell together. Then later, maybe if it fails to break the low, you can later again back. By you understanding where week is going, it's easy for you to pick intraday levels. But what if you didn't take you on this intraday? Which opportunities did you have? You have opportunities in H4 time frame, the next time frame. Before daily forming, H4 gave you opportunities. Here, these H4s, the H4 price gives opportunity to sell. This new H4 price gives opportunity to sell. Here it didn't come back, you don't complain. Here you had this new H4, that was another opportunity. So you had the first opportunity, second opportunity, third opportunity. The fourth one was also here because this is a break and retest level. The fourth one. Now you're having now a daily here, which is waiting for you. Are you together? So it's just patience. Now, once you understand this, it is easy for you to do analysis on whatever asset, So that is how we do top-down analysis. Then you can be able to look for levels. But these sales that you see, yes, this was a weekly resistance, but we have something that we had to pick there, which I can't discuss for now. But you at least you easily know that now we are retracing or you're selling back to these levels. Are you together? So you always take your intraday. You understand the high time frame direction. It's easy for you to take a trade. Actually, this was a daily level, which price is already selling on. This is a break and retest on H4, but in reality, it's a daily. If I take you there, it's a daily break of structure, but price stopped on the 0%, what you call the break and retest level here. So if you go to H4, refining it to H4, notice that how price here has here multiple reactions. 1, 2, 3. So that's why you see price starting here to sell. It has already given you some good pips for intraday. So whether you're doing swing trading, you need to understand the long-term direction. Once you understand long-term direction, you're going to have a clear story to make a quick judgment. So for this is enough. That is how I do top-down analysis in our concept. It will help you to guide you regardless of how to play with those busy time frames, which is daily H4 and H1. Then it will be easy for you to take a trade. Thank you.